he's writing to, in Krishna chapter 87 on page 4, the last line, it is said, known as Bhuvasa, which is manifested Govinda. I do not know, what is this editing? The correct word is Bhur Bhuva Sva, as it is in the Gayatri mantra, and everybody knows it. This Bhuvasa is an extraordinary word. Neither it is Sanskrit nor English. So how it has avoided the vigilance of so many editors. So if none of the editors knew this word, why was it pushed? There should be no such negligences like this. Nothing uncertain should be pushed. Now, what other discrepancies there may be like this? Or what is the use of such editing? Everything must be done very carefully and attentively. And Prabhupada, people say, did you ever get an instruction? Did Prabhupada ever tell you to edit such and such thing? You know, like unless I got a telegram that said, please edit page 42, then it's all bogus. But these are the kind of instructions that we got from Srila Prabhupada when we were producing his books. There should be no such negligences like this. Pumandi. Sense gratificatory activities. Fruitive themes.
But to a modest degree, he was okay with you rewording things so that it would flow more in English.
You had to. Prabhupada told Hayagriva, edit for force and clarity. If you don't move things around, sometimes you get ambiguous antecedents. You don't know whether it means, whether he means the first person referred to or the second person referred to. There are all sorts of problems. So you have to sometimes move things around. You sometimes have to cut a few words. You sometimes have to change a word. Like Prabhupada said that Rukmini was wearing a padlock. But she had beautiful, hair, and her eyes were so beautiful, and she was wearing a pearl necklace and a padlock. So, is that like bling? So I crossed out padlock and put locket, which would make sense. Girls wear jewelry with lockets, not with padlocks, for crying out loud. So sometimes you would have to change some of Prabhupada's words. He sometimes didn't use, Prabhupada said English was not his native language, so sometimes there could be a mistake like that. We take it as a divine mistake. But it's not that Prabhupada hired editors just to smile on the pages and say everything's perfect. What's the use of that? It's not what Hayagriva was supposed to do, not what I was supposed to do, not what anybody's supposed to do. That's called negligence. But Prabhupada said, be very careful, be very attentive, so that there should be no mistakes. And there should also not be speculations by the editors. There should not be insertion of your own ideas instead of Prabhupada's ideas. There should not be whimsical change for the sake of change. So many things. Things shouldn't be cut out just because we think people would like them or something like that. It's not carte blanche that you're the editor, so the book belongs to you. Do whatever you want with it. Not at all. You're the servant of the author. In the material world also, the editor is the servant of the author. It's not that he goes to town with the book and does whatever he wants. He has to serve the author.
Just lastly, do you know why is it that there were such, like you say, lavish changes to the first edition of the introduction? Now it's better, of course, because it's much closer.
Excuse me?
The Bhagavad Gita that you began with, the introduction.
Mm-hmm.
The second edition, it appears, is much closer to the original.
Yes.
Why is it that the first version was there was so much changes, like rewording of sentences.
Well, you had to, because why was there so much rewording in the first edition? Prabhupada's speaking.
Yeah. Okay.
And speaking and writing are different. You know, you speak and you say you know, and you speak and you start a sentence and you don't finish it, or you say the same thing twice. I mean, twice you say the same thing, maybe you say the same thing over again 2 times. That's speech. And the spoken word, changing the spoken word into the written word, takes rewording sentences and moving things around, sometimes cutting out a sentence or 2 that doesn't fit, or that's repetitious. Jayadvaita Prabhu did a very, very good job. Jayadvaita was excellent. He was an associate professor at the university in the English department, and he did a great job of editing for Bhagavad Gita and other books that he worked on. It was a tremendous job. So it's not to find fault. No, didn't get paid to edit Bhagavad Gita as it is. It was devotional service, and very expertly done. Given the state of knowledge that the devotees had at the time, given that the Sanskrit scholars that were just learning the alphabet, basically learning how to transliterate, learning basic vocabulary, that this book came out so well was a miracle. But as you saw, there were things that were left out, there were things that were put in, there were mistakes, mishearings. So those things have been given attention. But it's not to criticize. And the first book is, still it's the first book, people get it. It makes devotees, it makes you Krishna conscious, even if a book is imperfectly composed. Prabhupada's original Bhagavatams, sometimes the words were upside down. Literally. The typesetter just had them backwards. Still the books are perfect. But that doesn't mean that when Prabhupada came to America, we should have just printed them the same way. Prabhupada called it. Yes.
You quickly mentioned about necessary changes and unnecessary changes. Is that a subjective judgment?
Yes.
Or is there any?
There's no computer you can go to that will say, we've put this through our statistical analysis and we can assure you that this is a necessary change or this is an unnecessary change. One man's necessary change is another man's unnecessary change. Everything is subjective in editing. There's no, it's not like mathematics where 2 + 2 equals 4 or it doesn't equal 4. It's not like that. It involves subjective decisions. If it said that Rukmini was wearing a padlock, do you cross that out and put locket? Do you just cross out the whole thing and just leave it, wherever it stopped before that? Those are 2 possible solutions. Now, which is right? Or do you leave it as it was? Well, Prabhupada said padlock. Who am I to say something else? Maybe, South Indian jewelry, right? It's kind of heavy sometimes. Maybe she got this from South India, so maybe it's an unnecessary change. So you have to use your common sense. You have to refer to the previous authorities if you can, or look at the manuscript at least and see what's going on. And some of them will be absolutely black and white. Kuti doesn't offer a prayer from Ishopanishad. It's a subjective judgment, but it's so clearly right, or so clearly wrong in the previous edition, that, what can you say about it? Then you get to something like sense gratificatory pursuits. Well, it makes sense. So since it makes sense, maybe you should leave it alone. Maybe it's an unnecessary change. Because if it's sensible, one should give up sense gratificatory pursuits. But the original said occupational duties. Swadharma means occupational duties. Shouldn't we change it to occupational duties? So that's a subjective judgment. One person may say, yes, because it's closer to Prabhupada and his intentions. Another person may say, no, because Prabhupada saw it and it was okay, and it's been there this long, why mess with it? And okay, either way, looking at it can be justified. You can say, all right, whatever it is, that's what it is. Too much risk if you change it. The next guy, well, you could say that about the Pramundi too. Someone may say, you know, this Pramundi, we can't live with Pramundi. So what is it? Full moon day. Okay, let's go back. Purnamasi. Someone else says, no, if you start making changes now, this change may be okay, but the next guy, who knows what he'll do, the better to leave Pramundi. Okay, now that's a subject, you know, that's not necessarily the stupid opinion. Someone may say, well, with all of its faults, let it be. Because you don't know, once you open the door, what kind of creatures are going to come in. That's not a foolish objection. So then you have a subjective judgment. Do you leave Pramundi at the, you know, knowing that it's nonsense and that it's wrong, but knowing at least that you haven't messed with anything? Or do you fix it so that it'll be right? At the risk that the next guy will come in and do something else which may not be right. So these are subjective judgments. And Prabhupada appointed BBT trustees to make these judgments. That's what he did. He put the BBT, in publishing of his books, under the BBT. He appointed trustees. He said, I trust them. And he gave them the decision-making power. And they can misuse it or they can make mistakes. It's possible. And, you know, their decisions should probably be looked at from now and again and said, hey, you sure about that? Maybe you made a wrong decision there. Or editing. Anybody can pick up the second edition of Bhagavad Gita and look at something and say, okay, now I've seen your reasons, I've seen the manuscript, but I think you made a mistake. Like Brahmamurta, I changed it to Punya. He looked at it and said, Punya, you know, okay, it's better, but it, you know, there must be more to it. So he looked back and now we know, full moon day. It's not that because I made it Punya, now it has to be, you know, that's the last word in authority. You know, I didn't go far enough. He took it further. Or I might have done something someplace which is really a mistake. And then someone points it out, and you have to change it. You have to go back and say, oh, you know, it's not only Hadagriva who makes mistakes, it's Jayadvaita Swami who makes mistakes too. Everybody can make mistakes. That's okay. I have no problem with that. Just people should take the trouble to look through what it is that they think might be wrong, inform themselves, and then we hope politely bring up what their issues are.
So then in the editing world, these controversies must be everyday affair in all books.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. There's in the world there are standards for editing. And in fact, people write, you know, in the great authors, they never would re-edit their books. They never allow, you know, in the scholarly world, it's never done. Not true. Not true. In fact,